If you don't know what this fruit is, then you don't know jack about jackfruit. What's up, hungry people? Today we're taking a look at the largest fruit in the world, the jackfruit. This jackfruit weighs in at just over 15 pounds and was actually the smaller of the two available at my grocery store. In the wild, jackfruit can reach weights of up to 90 pounds or more. So if there's one thing for sure, you definitely don't want to take a nap under a jackfruit tree. Today will be my first time trying jackfruit, but it's said that the flavor is comparable to a mix of banana, melon, and mango. But when under-ripened jackfruit is cooked, it actually has a texture similar to pork. Stay tuned until the end of the video to see how I make this jackfruit into pulled pork sandwiches. Jackfruit is sometimes confused for durian, though the two fruits share very little in common. In comparison, just from size alone, the jackfruit dwarfs the durian. Not to mention that its rind is more bumpy rather than spiky. The biggest cause for confusion is the smell. I don't know why I keep picking really stinky food. Jackfruit doesn't smell great from a distance either. It kind of smells sort of like rotting onions and bananas combined and kind of leaves a funky must to the air around it. So I can see why people get it confused with the durian. Well, it doesn't smell great close up either. If you want to see me try another strange smelling food, check out my most recent Know Your Food episode where I get to try a black truffle. When a jackfruit is ripe, it'll have a hollow internal sound. Sounds ripe to me. Slightly underripe jackfruit, which appears mine may be a little bit under its peak of ripeness, should have a more mellow flavor, which will make it perfect for a meat replacement. So how do you cut this thing open? That's a great question. Jackfruit is notoriously difficult to open, not only because of its size, but because of the ultra sticky, sappy resin that's contained within its flesh. This is my very first time opening a jackfruit, and I've been warned that the easiest way to make sure that the entire house doesn't become covered in sticky sap is to cover any of your working surfaces with newspaper or brown paper bags. I'm gonna go ahead and get that all situated. So now I have my area all prepped and ready to cut open this jackfruit. Now, all of the videos that I watched online just cut the jackfruit in half, but the instructions on the tag said to cut it into slices. So honestly, I'm not really sure what to believe anymore. If you know the proper way to cut a jackfruit, let me know down in the comments below. Regardless of how you cut it, there are a couple of essential tools that you'll need to carve open a jackfruit. A sharp knife and a mild flavored cooking oil like vegetable oil or coconut oil. And finally, latex gloves. You'll definitely want to make sure that you have the gloves because otherwise I guess the sap is extremely difficult to get off of your hand. Go ahead and put on our gloves and then get our knife nice and oiled up. So we're just going to take our oil and then just pour it right on the knife. This isn't necessarily my nicest knife, but it's definitely my sharpest one. So hopefully it'll be enough to just cut right through. While I struggle to open this thing, here are some additional facts about jackfruit. Jackfruit is grown in slightly different varieties all around the world. It originates from India, but it can be found in other tropical places like Thailand, Brazil, Jamaica, and Florida. Underripe jackfruit can be used as a meat replacement in everything from curry to pulled pork barbecue. Unlike animal meat, jackfruit contains very little protein, so while it may make for an easy meal replacement in texture, it's not likely going to be replacing your main source of protein anytime soon. It's like being the King Arthur over here. Getting closer. All the videos online, they were just like, boop, and popped them open. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that with this one. Oh, okay, well, I've gotten at least through the bottom half here, so now I just need to cut through the top. I think I've made a mistake trying to cut right through the stem. We're getting teeny tiny pieces out. Wow, no, that's really, really good. The scent definitely gives credence to the flavor, but the flavor is a surprisingly fresh and very crisp and sort of melony flavor. But I definitely can see the appeal to this if I can just get it open. Oh man, I'm Hercules. So apparently, this is what the inside of the jackfruit looks like. Jackfruit is actually rumored to be the secret flavor profile behind Juicy Fruit gum.
Of course, Juicy Fruit knows that they would go out of business due to the fact that a single jackfruit will sustain all the flavor of their bubblegum operation for over 1,000,000 years and wants to keep the public away from knowing the truth. It's a hashtag Juicy Fruit conspiracy.
So now that we have this thing open, we have to remove this white core. So I'm just going to take, again, oil the knife a little bit and then just cut out this center bit here. Basically what we're trying to get out of here are these pods. This is half of one, but we're working our way there. Oh man. I'm telling you, there's a lot of work required to get to the actual jackfruit. But everything that I've read so far makes it seem like all of the effort is definitely worth it in the end. So basically, you want to separate all of the stringy white stuff off of this yellowish fruit. And then in the center of each of these yellow pods, there are actually little teeny tiny nuts. And these nuts are actually edible too, and if you boil them, they kind of have the consistency of a potato. The flavor is just ripe enough where I'm getting all the hints of sweet and tanginess and definitely all the flavors of the tropics, but I think mine is underripe enough that we're gonna be able to make some really mean barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. Let's see if I can get this whole pot out of here. This is actually a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. The videos made it look so easy, and I'm sure that there's some very simple tips and tricks that people could give me that would have made this video a whole lot easier. So this is what you're after, ultimately. This pod thing here in the middle. And then you can take it and you can pull out the seed here in the center and then discard that or eat it. And then you have this pod left that shreds just like super easily. Like it peels very, very similarly to a banana peel. So that comes apart really easily. So it's gonna make some really cool texture effects for our pulled pork here in a little bit. So here we have some of our fresh, clean jackfruit, and then we're just gonna toss it into our food processor for a quick shred. You can shred it by hand, but it's definitely easier to just use a food processor real quick. Okay, so it should be nice and shredded. Go ahead and take off our plate. And as you can see, it's a nice, perfectly shredded jackfruit. Now if there's any seeds that you missed in there, go ahead and try to pick those out. I missed one or two, I think. I do see a couple shells, but for the most part those should be okay because like I said before, they are processed sort of similar to potatoes, so once we start cooking them, they will soften up and hopefully just add a little bit of texture to our pulled pork. Okay, so now I have a little bit of red onion and a little bit of fresh jalapeno pepper that we're going to be adding to the skillet with our jackfruit in order to make shredded pulled pork. First, we're just gonna add a little bit of oil to the pan just to get a nice sear going. You don't need a whole lot. This is just gonna be enough to get the jackfruit browning a little bit and tender it up a touch so it tastes a little bit more like pork. But first, we're going to add our onions and then also our hot pepper. So go ahead and saute the onions and peppers until they're beginning to soften and then the tips of the onions are just starting to caramelize. Next, we're gonna add in our jackfruit. Add the entire thing to the skillet and then stir it into the onions and peppers. We want the onions to give the jackfruit a really nice savory touch of flavor, but then also get a little bit of heat from the peppers. Looking at it like this, it doesn't really look a whole lot like shredded pork. It doesn't really smell a whole lot like shredded pork, but consistency-wise, it sort of feels like pulled pork. So I'm very interested to see what the final result is. Once the jackfruit has cooked down a little bit, we're gonna add a little bit of homemade barbecue sauce and then just pour that right in. Go ahead and stir the sauce into the jackfruit. And we'll be adding more as time goes on here. We really want to have a convincingly barbecue pulled pork appearance. So that might mean getting a little bit of char on it. That might mean adding a lot more sauce. We're just experimenting at this point. Still not looking a whole lot like pulled pork, but hopefully as we progress and cook it down a little bit, hopefully it'll start taking on a little bit more of a pork appearance. I've definitely had to cook this for a little bit longer than I thought, but it is starting to get that sort of meaty appearance that I've been reading about. So I'm not sure if I would be convinced if I didn't know that this was jackfruit that it was something else. But so far, it looks pretty convincingly like pork. So now the true test of this is, does it taste like a pulled pork barbecue sandwich? Let's find out. I'm kind of a little scared, but I know that the barbecue sauce is good, so even if the texture isn't, it'll still probably be pretty good. Like I said, if I didn't already know that it was jackfruit, I may be swayed to think this was some kind of meat. But for the most part, all it really has is a different undertaste to it, but it definitely emulates some kind of tofu-y, chewy, chickeny, porky flavor and texture. So I guess ultimately, yes, it can be used as pulled pork. But would I be convinced that it was pork? Probably not. It's really good though. What crazy fruit or vegetable would you like for me to check out next? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget that you can find this recipe and many more on thestarvingchefblog.com. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be part of my notification squad to be the first to know when a new video goes up every week. And don't forget to check me out on Facebook where I post pictures and new recipes every day. I hope you all enjoyed and I'll talk to you soon.